So I was going to tell you a story this morning, and I thought that we could honor Linda Koenoff at the same time, because for so many of us, Linda has been an inspiration way back when we thought we were having crazy, weird experiences with the animal kingdom and our horses. And one of the first books that showed up for me was this Tao of Equus. And many other books of hers, but big support along the way. So this is a story about the Dalai Lama and the Tibetans and an experience I had. So I was reading this book maybe for the second time, and I signed up for a Principles of Consciousness class with John Veltheim, the founder of Body Talk. And as I was preparing my travel to get to Toronto for the class, some of my colleagues said, "Oh, the Dalai Lama is going to be in Toronto at the same time as John Veltheim. Let's leave the class on this day or that day and go see the Dalai Lama and then come back to John's class." And I said, well, no, I wouldn't do that. I wasn't going to leave the founder's class to go sit with the Dalai Lama, because I said, well, if we bilocate, as we believe we can, then I'll sit in on John's class, Principles of Consciousness, and bilocate and be with the Dalai Lama at the same time. I got laughed at. But that's okay. So I'm sitting at the airport reading this book, and I hear this buzz in the airport. He's here, he's here, he's here. You know he's in the airport? And I'm going like, who's in the airport? You hear someone say, the Dalai Lama, he's here, he's in the airport. And I'm going like, no way.
So you're going to class. You're
I'm
on your way
on
to
my
class.
way to Toronto to listen to the founder of Body Talk teach the Principles of Consciousness, and the Dalai Lama is in the airport at the same time as me. So while I get in practice what I preach, I go into altered state and I invite the Dalai Lama into my heart space that I didn't realize I was in at the time. And I invited him in. And all I could see coming into my awareness was white light. And as he came into my awareness, it's as if he dropped something. And I just sat there, you know, with that white light feeling of the Dalai Lama. And I was holding this book that Linda Koenoff so graciously put out in the world. And all of a sudden, the Dalai Lama physically, with his monks, is walking towards me in the airport. And I'm like, could you imagine if I caught the eye of the Dalai Lama, how powerful that would be? So I stood up and I leaned myself against the wall holding this book. And then Dalai Lama and his monks are walking towards me. And the Dalai Lama was practicing what he preaches. He was holding the hand of a female guard and dancing like they were in a field of daisies or something. And so as he passed me, he was so busy being a child dancing in these daisies with this security guard that he was like looking up and around, and I didn't catch his eye. And as I settled for a moment, an older monk that was walking behind him looked at me, and I just kind of went flying backwards with the energy of that gaze, and I was like, oh my God, wow. So they passed, and I went to sit down, and as I'm sitting down going to read a book again, I thought, oh, I asked the Dalai Lama in, I should release the consciousness of the Dalai Lama. And as I did that, I heard a voice say, come join us, we're waiting for the plane. And I'm like, where? You're waiting for the plane in the airport, where? So I just, if you've ever seen that movie August Rush, follow the music, follow the sound. So I followed the frequency, and the next thing I know, I'm standing beside the Dalai Lama and all of his monks in the airport. And I'm watching the Dalai Lama wait till everyone boarded the plane before him. He would not board until everyone boarded, and then he would go board. And I was like, wow. So then as I'm standing there, I get this insight. Oh, why don't you get the monk with the glasses that looked at you to sign this book? So I called a security guard over and I said, would you mind taking this book to that monk with the glasses to sign? She goes, oh, no, I'll take it to the Dalai Lama. And I said, no, please take it to the one was helping the Dalai Lama. Or maybe an older monk, I don't know. And she kind of looked at me funny and went, oh, okay. So she takes the book and she goes over to the gentleman with the monk with the glasses and says, could he sign it for me over there? And he goes, oh, yeah, take it to the Dalai Lama. She goes, no, I don't know. She wants you to sign it. So he walks over to me and with the book, and he bows and I bow. And I said, I would be honored if you could sign this for my path with the nonverbal communication with all sentient life. And I felt that the horses were leading the way already. And would you bless my path? And so he looked at me and he said, and he put the book towards the Dalai Lama and he goes like, why me? And I said, because you're the one that got presented to me. And so I opened the book and he signed it for me.
Wow.
And so then I thanked them and I waited till they boarded the plane. And I went and sat down again. And then I thought, oh, I should release the energy of the Dalai Lama. Because I saw this like white light thing happening. So I connected and I said, thank you so much. And I said, but you dropped something. You may want to take it as you leave. And the Dalai Lama says, no, I've left something for you in Toronto. And I was like, he says, it's a crystal. You'll find it. And I was like, okay, thank you. And by then I was pretty high. Phoning a few people like, oh, you just what happened? Oh my God, it's so cool. And oh, sign my book. So I got to Toronto and I had the first day off. And you got to know, I'm walking everywhere in Toronto seeking this crystal. No, couldn't find a crystal shop, nothing. So I finally stopped seeking. And I was walking back to my hotel. And just before the doorway to the hotel, there's a kiosk of a guy selling crystals. So I go walking up, start looking at the crystals, and I find one, it's a lapis. And I think, oh, this must be it. So I buy it. And as I'm going to leave, I get this voice in my imagination says, ask the guy that's selling the crystals if he's ever met the Dalai Lama. I'm thinking, are you nuts, Lucia? But so I walk back and I say to the guy, I said, have you ever met the Dalai Lama? And he goes, oh, as a matter of fact, of course I have. I'm always there. And I met his family and they help me with my crystals. And I'm like, really? So I tell him the story and that the Dalai Lama has left a crystal with him for me. And he goes, oh, well, of course. So he hands me one and I hold it and I could feel the energy. I go, no, that's not the one. He hands me a second one. It's a carnelian, actually. And I hold it and I go, that's it. So I don't barter for the price or anything. And I buy the carnelian pendant and off I go. So I'm walking away and about a block or two down the road, someone taps me on my shoulder and I look around and it's a gentleman from the kiosk. And he says, he says, I have a gift for you. And he gives me this palm. It's a hand with aquamarine and a citrine in it. So the blue and the gold. And he says, the Dalai Lama is always giving. And he says, you have the gift of giving. And I'd like to give you this hand with the blue and the gold in it as a gift. So I accepted it and I probably cried a little bit and went back to my hotel room and realized that during the whole Principles of Consciousness seminar with John Veltheim, the founder of the Body Talk system, I was present with the Dalai Lama simultaneously. What a gift. Yeah. So, that's that story. And certainly right now I feel very, I think we both feel very drawn to taking one of Linda Koneff's cards as a message for our day. So we'll do that now. Thanks.